What's going on, guys? Welcome to Car Audio Fabrication. Currently sitting and enjoying some of the sounds here in the Jeep. So I actually saw a study today that some of the same endorphins that are released when we have our favorite food or when we enjoy our favorite movie or when we're laughing and happy, some of those same endorphins are released when we listen to our favorite music. Now, I'm no scientific expert, but I'm going to say that if you listen to your favorite music on a car audio system that sounds really, really good, I'm going to guess that effect is enhanced quite a bit. So for those of you that don't know, I've been working on installing a sound system into this Jeep here, and I've got everything equipment-wise installed now. It sounds great, but I'm onto the phase where I need to add an amp rack beauty panel, and we need to make this system look amazing too. I've got the main framework for the beauty panel here all laid out, and in one of the previous videos, we also did some acrylic trim rings in here, but in this video, I want to talk to you guys about body filler. Let's take this out here. Body filler, more commonly referred to as Bondo. Body filler is kind of like man makeup. This old girl here, she's looking good, but you know what? We just got to have that final little perfection touch to make her look perfect. We have some imperfections here that we basically need to sand down and fill in, and we have some cracks that would otherwise show up underneath the upholstery materials, whether it be vinyl or carpet, so we need to fill those in, make everything nice and smooth. Body filler can be kind of a pain to work with because it takes a lot of time to sand unless you know the right tips. I'm gonna be showing you guys some of those tips in this video and a couple other things that we're gonna be working on. I need this thing to actually hinge within the vehicle so that I can access the jack within the back of the Jeep. I also got the piece of laser etched acrylic from my buddy JT that's gonna go in this spot here. So I'm gonna be able to show you guys that as well. Let's do this. So I have a couple of different tips for using this stuff. In fact, you know what? So this is going to be Mark's tips for making body filler, not a not so fun, boring, ow my hand cert, why did I do this? This is my life now experience. So tip number one is to do as much shaping as possible using tools before you apply any body filler. So as is, I've already shaped the majority of this amplifier rack beauty panel using router bits and different router techniques that I've shown you in some of the previous videos. Now I've also got these large imperfections I showed you guys earlier. We need to get rid of those before we start applying body filler. It'd be silly to lather a bunch of body filler on here, sand. We might as well start with sanding. Let's do some shaping with tools before we apply the body filler. So a couple of different things that I want you guys to notice with what I was doing there. First off, you may have noticed that I'm using a flat sanding block. Because of the lines and the design that's on this amplifier rack, it's a lot of really hard, straight edges. So in that case, I want to use a hard, straight sanding block. There are these really cool things that Mobile Solutions sells called soft sanders. Idea of these is you can stick sandpaper on them and you can actually get a curvature like this. But you can see there's all sorts of different profiles here, and obviously the idea is, let's say that we wanted to work into a corner and we wanted it to have a nice ellipse. Once we fill in some of the body filler, we could use a sander like this with sandpaper on it, really work into that corner, and we're gonna have that perfect shape. Something else I want to point out, when you have these hard lines like right here, you don't want to necessarily leave them super crisp, especially if you're wrapping with vinyl. If you kind of break them a little bit, it's going to give the vinyl a much better look. It doesn't look as artificial. It doesn't have a super hard line. It has a nice subtle line. Now I thought from here we were going to go right into using body filler, but I actually think I kind of want to rethink the Hinge application that I was telling you guys about. Let's go take a look in the Jeep. Back we go. I can't even tell you how many times I've done this. All right, Fab family, so here's the deal. I want this thing to be able to hinge up out of the way because I want to retain the access to the jack that's underneath this section here. It's actually underneath this plastic piece. So what I was thinking, and I even got this hinge here, it's called a piano hinge. I was thinking about incorporating this, obviously, onto the backside so that you can't see it. But the only thing I'm worried about is this thing is like, listen to it. Let me put it by the mic. Can you hear that? I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in this thing. I'm just kidding. I'm sure I'll need this for some random different project at some point. So I ended up getting these hinges instead. These are a little bit more stout. They don't make noise when they move. But the thing is, I don't know, you guys, the more and more I look at this, I'm looking at it, and I'm just thinking, does this piece really need to hinge right here? I mean, honestly, I want to incorporate this like slight angle that this piece is sitting at, but honestly, I could just attach these two together. It's just held in with these tabs here. I could still lift the whole assembly, pull it out if I need to. That way, if you needed to change your spare tire or whatever, you just pop this out, move it forward a little bit, set it back down. Life is good. So I think what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to actually get this piece in position so I know I like the location of it, and I'm gonna use some CA glue and just do a couple of little beads in order to attach this and hold the piece together so it's nice and strong. Then we can fill in this crack that we're ultimately gonna have with some body filler. This is a big part of the fabrication process, just coming up with solutions for problems as you go. So I added a bunch of CA glue to the back side of this piece here, so now it's good and strong. I just posted this picture on Instagram, and one of you guys down in the comments, let's see, Run Mir Run, he said, "You look like Jesse Pinkman with that mask on." I love that Breaking Bad TV show. When you said that, it reminded me of that scene where Jesse's like, "Yeah, science! Yeah, fabrication!" Actually, this reminds me of something I asked you guys in one of the previous videos, if you had any idea why I added this ring around the outside. A lot of you guys, like Rockhurst22 right here, thought that it was acrylic or for plexiglass for the LEDs like Brian here, but somebody finally got it right. Jesse D right here, "I bet your perimeter ring is for another panel to hide everything and to make it hidden and stock like. Pop the second panel and you can see your system." Good job, Jesse. Check it out. Boom. We have this panel here. I have to oversize it a little bit still. This is just my template, but by having this panel, you can see that we completely cover off the amplifiers. So we can go from show mode to stealth mode. All right, so it's body filler tip time. So first and foremost, make sure that you use a good high quality body filler. Of course, if it's a premium body filler, it's gonna cost a little bit more money, but it's worth it because you're not spending days sanding, you're only spending minutes sanding. It's literally that big of a difference. So when you get body filler, it's gonna also come with hardener. The hardener is what actually activates the body filler. We're gonna wanna make sure that we kind of massage this bottle around a little bit just so that the chemicals are all completely and uniformly mixed. Now it's also a good idea if this can has been sitting for an extended amount of time to take a paint stick and stir it as well. So I can actually steal some of this from the top here. And I've shown you guys this tip before. I definitely recommend holding on to these old credit card style gift cards whenever you have them. They're cheap, you can throw them away when you're done using them. And actually, this is probably all I'm really gonna need, hopefully, for this project. So now, I like this, they actually give a guideline now on the top of the can for how much hardener you're supposed to add, but this is about a 4-inch, maybe even smaller. This is about a 3-inch, so I probably only need about 3/4 of a line here. So we're gonna mix in the hardener here, And the reason that they're two different colors is it really allows you to see that the product is fully mixed. Also notice that I'm using a wax-backed piece of cardboard. You don't want to use normal cardboard or wood because it actually absorbs some of the resin out of the body filler, and the resin is what really makes this body filler lay down nice and smooth. Now notice my method here. I kind of keep folding the material onto itself. The idea here is that you don't want to introduce any bubbles into the body filler. Now before we start spreading it on, notice that I've kind of made it out into a big pancake, and that's good because if you don't do that, if you left it in a ball like that, it will dry a lot faster on you and it will harden up before you have a chance to use it. Now the biggest mistake that you guys can make right now is to call it a day and be like, I'll just start sanding tomorrow. I need to let it dry, right? No. If you mix this stuff right, you should only need to let it dry for about 15 to 20 minutes, and you're gonna wanna be around testing it while it's drying. And the reason for that is because we're gonna do what's called green stage sanding. This is still kind of tacky and sticky. It's sticking to my finger a little bit right now, but once it's almost starting to feel kind of like styrofoam, then we know that it's ready to be sanded. In the meantime, while we're waiting for that, I'm gonna open some mail here. I opened the first package already. This is from my buddy JT. He made my laser etched panel here that will go inside of the amplifier rack. I think you guys can see, you guys see it there? Shout out to him. Thank you, JT. You can find JT on Instagram at HBAutoSound. For the next package here, I'm gonna need my Olfa knife. This is from the Soundscape car audio guys, Dan and David. Thank you to those guys. Soundscape actually won the Retailer of the Year award last year, so if you guys are down in Plano, Texas, this would be a great shop to check out. Got their logo there. Ooh, bunch of lanyards. Thanks, guys. Some sweet shirts. Saving the world from bad car audio, one car at a time. They got their motto here as well, car audio for grown-ups. See how this is kind of like crumbling off now? See how that piece, it's solid, it crumbled off, and if I try to scratch it with my fingernail, it doesn't really scratch unless I kind of force it to. That's how we know that we're ready to start green stage. Now you guys might have noticed that I filled in this area, even though I didn't really need to, and the reason I did that is I didn't want like kind of the same idea I was talking about, how I broke this top edge so it wasn't super hard. I didn't want a super hard pit at the corner here. So I'm going to be using one of these soft sanders. I'm going to put this sandpaper on it here. This has a sticky backing. And I'm going to then really get into that corner after I kind of smooth everything out initially with the flat block. My first sanding is now complete. You're gonna notice that there's some areas like this that are dark green still. That's where the sandpaper hasn't really touched. So what we know by that is that that's a low spot. Now, rather than just getting overly aggressive and sanding more than I need to, because it will then ruin the shape, I need to just fill this in. But rather than applying more body filler, I'm gonna use this product here, link down in the video description. And it's basically the same idea, but it dries a little bit faster, a little bit easier to sand. It's just meant for minor areas. So there we have it, some nice smooth body filler applied. Let's get this guy back into the vehicle. So now that we have all the body filler applied on the amplifier rack, we have a few more steps to go and this thing's gonna be finished. We'll need to do some molded metal mesh inside the insert. I'll need to actually install the LED strands around the edgelit acrylic, and I'll need to do the final upholstery and vinyl wrap this. If you're new here, make sure that you subscribe so you can be updated when these new videos come out, and you can also check out the full build here on screen. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, if you could just leave a smashed like button, I'd appreciate that. In the meantime, a special thanks goes out to Brian, Ali, EJ, Emmanuel, Rory, Truman, and Jerry, along with the rest of the Patreon support team. Thank you guys for helping support the making of these videos. All right guys, thanks again for watching.